In the first lesson, random associations were demonstrated to show how easy and powerful a memory association can be. In this lesson, the structure of these associations will be explained along with dozens of new examples from the Scriptures. There are 10 different methods of association. We'll discuss the first 5 in this lesson. We're going to continue working on chapter numbers only to help you learn how associations work and to refine your skills. We'll work on verse numbers and chapter names in future lessons. We all know some scriptures verbatim. Having a memorized scripture in your mind is actually one of the 10 methods of association. For example, every member of the church knows James 1:5, if any of you lack wisdom. Here is the most quoted scripture in the world, for God so loved the world. And Moses 1:39, for behold, this is my work and my glory. D&C section 89 covers the word of wisdom. And Nephi's faithful assertion, I will go and do the things which the Lord hath commanded. Memorized verses also remind you of the content of the chapter. What is it that Nephi is about to go and do? Travel back to Jerusalem to get the brass plates. A memorized scripture becomes a memory link for that chapter, and no further association is needed unless the chapter covers additional material not directly addressed by the memorized passage. When you really think about it, we are very familiar with many scriptures already, each one of which can act as an anchor for that chapter. We might need a little refreshing to polish them up where we could quote them entirely from memory, but if you know the general content and its reference, that is sufficient to act as a memory link. We all know where to find the nativity story found in Luke 2. Jesus to Nicodemus in John 3:5. The premortal existence in Jeremiah 1:5, and the promise to anyone reading the Book of Mormon in Moroni 10:4-5. Look at the Seminary and Institute scripture list to see how many you already know. These familiar scriptures can be used as the anchor or link for that chapter. Everyone knows dozens of them. When satisfied, you can recall a scripture and its reference. You can add that to your list of associated scriptures. The position of a chapter within a book is another association method. Look at the first and last chapters of every book to see if the content of the chapter isn't obvious. We already used this method in Lesson 1 with Hagoth the shipbuilder disappearing in the last chapter of Alma, 63. And the death of King Mosiah in the last chapter of Mosiah, 29. The last we hear about Samuel the Lamanite is in the last chapter of Helaman, 16. Remember that his address from the wall of the city began in Helaman 13, the bad news for the unrepentant people of Zarahemla. Some chapters are so obvious no association is needed, such as the creation story in Genesis 1, or the account of the first vision in Joseph Smith history. Also, the stories of Ruth, Esther, and Enos are all in books named after themselves. For others, all we need to be shown is the relationship of the chapter position to the content, and we will permanently remember it. Mosiah is anointed to be king in Mosiah chapter 1. The resurrection is recorded in the last chapter of Matthew, 28. Always consider the chapter position in the book as a potential association. Many times the chapter number is found in the chapter itself, making an association easy and obvious. We already discussed each of the following. In 1 Nephi 5, Lehi reads the brass plates and discovers they contain the first 5 books of Moses. In 3 Nephi 1, a day and a night and a day as one day. Moroni 8, where little children need no baptism until they are accountable and capable of committing sin. Although the number 8 is not used in the chapter, we all know what the age of accountability is. Sometimes it takes some digging to find numbers in the chapter, and if it doesn't work smoothly in your mind to create a link to that chapter, then choose another method. For example, in 1 Nephi 7, Lehi sends his sons back to Jerusalem to bring Ishmael and his family down into the wilderness. On the return trip, some rebel, and 7 children of Ishmael are listed. You could also use 7 heaven for this chapter, where each of the sons of Lehi gets a wife. In 3 Nephi 12 is where Christ calls the 12 disciples. In Jacob chapter 2, Jacob preaches against plural marriage, 2 wives. In Daniel 3, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, 3 of them refuse to bow down to false gods and are cast into the fiery furnace. They are preserved and come out unharmed. Anytime the chapter number rhymes with a word which makes sense in the story, you can use it as the association for that chapter. We've already done 8 and 8 for both Lehi's vision of the tree of life and for the meeting of Alma and Amulek. Also, Daniel in the lion's den in Daniel 6, licks or sticks, and Nephi smiting off the head of Laban in 1 Nephi 4, 4 can also be used for Judges 4, where the enemy general is literally nailed to the floor with a tent spike. You can break down larger numbers into single digits, then make 2 associations instead of 1. For example, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah is found in Genesis 19. If nothing pops out as a substitute for the number 19, break the number down into 2 digits, 1 and 9. 1 run and 9 sign. You run from the city because of the sign coming down from heaven, fire and brimstone. Many times we encounter multiple chapters covering a single event, as in Noah and the ark found in Genesis 6 through 9. Using rhyming words for all 4 chapters, rather than using 4 completely random associations for each, will actually help in the recall. For example, 6 sticks, Noah builds the ark. 7 heaven, the heavens open and the floodwaters pour down. 8 gate, Noah opens a gate and lets all the animals go. And 9 sign, the sign of the rainbow. The stoning of Stephen in Acts 7, 7 heaven, Stephen sees Christ on the right hand of God in heaven. In Acts 10, Peter sees a great vision of a sheet being let down, filled with all kinds of animals, 10 and pen, a pen full of animals. If an event in the story can be made to look like the number of the chapter, then you have a perfect match. We've already used this technique several times in Lesson 1. In Acts 9, Saul on the road to Damascus uses a walking cane that looks like the number 9. North and South America look like the number 8 for 3 Nephi 8. 2 stacks of Nephite coins look like an 11, in Alma chapter 11. To see if the number can be used in the story, read the chapter and see if anything looks like the chapter number. John chapter 11 records the raising of Lazarus from the dead. We picture Christ and Lazarus standing together, which fits the shape of the chapter number. Similarly, David and Bathsheba in 2 Kings 11 standing together looks like an 11. In Alma 31, we read about the Rameumptom, or holy stand, where one person at a time can climb up and pray to their God using a set prayer. If we picture a giant 3 as the holy stand with a ladder leaning against it, we have our association. We already discussed the ascension of Christ in Acts chapter 1, where the pillar of light looks like the number 1. Similarly, Lehi sees a pillar of light in his great vision of 1 Nephi chapter 1. The same image can be used for more than one chapter. The number 7 looks like a person slumped over. Abinadi is burned at the stake in Mosiah 17, where 1 is the stake and the 7 is Abinadi slumped over. In this brief lesson, we've covered 25 new associations to add to your collection, plus any memorized scriptures you might already know, which could be dozens more. Check your memory using the Lesson 2 quiz on the website. Associations are easy and quick to perform, and practice does speed up the process. In the website, a list of the top events of the Bible and of the Book of Mormon are included with and without their associations. This allows you to use the reference-only list to practice making your own associations. Then check with the association list to see if you get a better idea. Please share your best associations with us so we can add them to the Master Association list for everyone's benefit. Use the contact page to make any submissions.